As we go into the cooler season and the winter holidays come upon us, it's always nice to have something special that you can pull out of your kitchen fairly quickly that's also nutritious. And so today we're going to look at spinach stuffed mushrooms. And I think you're going to find them really fun, quick, and easy. And we're going to start with mushrooms. And most of us, of course, are going to buy these. There are a few of us who grow them ourselves, but not many. And so you're going to need to clean them because, as you can see, as they come out of the box, there's a fair amount of dirt on them, particularly on the bottom side. Try to look for those that are fairly close to the same size. Any size will do as long as they're all fairly similar. You're going to need about 20 of them, so probably around a pound of mushrooms is what you're going to want to start with. You need to clean it. Don't wash them because they absorb a lot of liquid in them and then they taste spongy. So clean them with a damp cloth. Just rub it off. You don't need to peel them, although if it starts to peel off, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with peeling them. Although many people think that the peel on the outside actually provides a lot of the flavor. So if you peel that all off and make them real white, they aren't going to taste as good. The other thing you're going to find in this dish is that they're going to be upside down and the top is going to be covered with the filling. So there's not a lot of reason to leave it on there. Or to take it off, excuse me. The next thing you're going to do is remove the stem, and you just simply push it on one side, rock it back and forth, and it'll come out for you. And then you set that over with the others that we already have ready. The stems you're going to want to chop up. We're not going to throw them away and save them for another day. We're going to actually use them in this recipe. So you take them and you make matchstick slices in them to chop them real fine. Then you turn them the other way, chop them again, and then just turn them on their side and chop them across the rest of the way. I've already got enough of them ready for us for the recipe that we're going to use today, so all of the stems go in there. One of the nice things about this is that the spinach and the cheese that are in here also, and the mushrooms, also complement other things. So it's often difficult for me, at least, to get all the filling back in the mushroom that I end up with. So I have explored a couple of other alternatives for it, and I found that it goes really nice inside an omelet or on a piece of toast that you put in and grill or broil for a little bit. So there are other options. You don't just throw the filling away if it's more than you can use. The next thing we're going to add in here, since they're cheese and spinach stuffed mushrooms, is some spinach. Now, since it's the cooler season, we're going to be starting with frozen spinach, and I wanted to put it in the microwave for just a few minutes, but then it's too liquid because as spinach freezes or as it cooks, a lot of the water comes out of it. So I've put a colander in the sink, and then I've lined it with 2 or 3 paper towels, and then I simply take that out and squeeze it until as much of the liquid comes out as you can get out conveniently. I've let this cool as I've been doing some other things. Otherwise, that might be a little bit more difficult for you to do, but that was cool. The other advantage to having it cool is that we're going to be adding some cheese later on, and if the spinach is hot, then the cheese starts to get real stringy and it's more difficult to work with, and it will be more apt to have the fat separate out. All right, we've got spinach here. We're going to add that to the mushroom stems. Also, we're going to add about 1/3 cup of fat-free yogurt. You can see we're going to keep the fat content of this down really low. I think the total fat content in this is going to be around 1 gram of fat total. Now, one of the interesting things about the spinach that we've got here is that there's a lot of promotion right now about the nutrient called lutein. Now, lutein is a carotenoid. It's found in things that are yellow, such as carrots and corn, and in green leafy vegetables, although the green covers up the yellow part there. Now, the connection there that is of interest is the fact that this particular item, this lutein, is found in concentrations in the eye. And so there's some studies going on right now to determine whether or not the lutein that's in this will help reduce your risk of cataracts and macular degeneration as you age. The studies are not completely clear at this point. The science is not hard and fast, and so the answer to whether or not you should consume this to protect your eyes would be it doesn't hurt you to consume it, but whether or not it protects your eyes is questionable. What is questionable is trying to supplement yourself with capsules of lutein, because we found out a few years ago that some people are at high risk when they take in certain nutrients like beta carotene. We found out that those people who consumed supplements of beta carotene that were smokers ended up with a higher risk of cancer than those who didn't. So if you're going to consume lutein, and hopefully you will because you're eating a lot of green leafy vegetables and other foods that are high in carotenoids, it's okay to do it in whole foods, and we encourage you to do it in whole foods, but not in a supplemental form. All right, we're going to stir this together. I'm going to switch utensils here. And also we're going to add I think it was about 1/4 of a cup of finely chopped onion. Now the idea is not to mince it down so far that you can't tell what it is, but you do want it minced up enough that it will fit inside the mushroom cap that you've prepared. Also to that, I've got 1/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese, 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and you could leave this out if you chose to, but salt does add flavor, and if you don't need to, have not been instructed to leave it out completely, then you can go ahead and use it. The final dish only ends up with about 80 milligrams of sodium in a serving, so it's not real high. And part of that is going to be from some of the other things that we add. Also to this, we have 1/2 a cup of Monterey Jack cheese that's reduced fat, and it's 1/4 of a cup of each, Monterey Jack and cheddar or Colby. Now you can find mixes in the supermarket where they're already grated and they're already blended together if time is of concern to you, or you can do the grating yourself. Also in here, we're going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried oregano. All right, we want to stir this together well so that everything is all the way through, so that everybody gets some of the herbs as well as the cheese and all the other ingredients. The next step is simply to take your mushroom caps that you've already prepared and put them on a microwavable platter with a couple of paper towels underneath between the mushroom and the platter, and that will allow you to have the moisture that's going to come out as the mushrooms cook absorbed by the paper towel, and then you can transfer them to something else later. All right, we're simply going to try and fill these up. Now this is some finger work here as well as a spoon, or you could use 2 spoons. But simply push it in there as well as you can. You could mound it up and cover the tops of the mushrooms. And when all of these are filled, we're going to put them in the microwave for about 4 to 6 minutes. And you can kind of check on them, make sure that they're done all the way through. Now, if you don't have a turntable in your microwave, it's a good idea to come back, about every minute and rotate the dish about 1/4 of a turn. And that way they're going to cook a little bit more evenly. Once they've been in a little while, you may want to check and make sure that they're not too hot to handle. But you can see how the cheese is melted. They're nice and steamy. And I'm going to try and transfer a couple of them over here to this dish. And once you do that, it's time to make sure everybody comes to eat. They don't hold up a long time, so it is something that you want to serve fairly quickly after they've finished cooking. But it's a nice thing to have as an hors d'oeuvre. It's a nice thing to have as a snack during the holidays, particularly since it's not going to be very high in fat. It's got a fair amount of calcium in it, believe it or not. A serving is 1 mushroom, and I dare anyone to manage to eat just 1. The only way you can do that is if you actually have 20 people in there and that's all you've got. Otherwise, I think you're going to find out you like them so much that you're not going to be able to stop at just 1. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.